Hello and welcome to Connect with Chris, where we catch up with distinguished alumni from the Quinnipiac University School of Communications. Joining us today is Viktoria Sundqvist. Victoria actually has 2 degrees from the School of Communications, one in 2003 and then her master's in 2006. Victoria is now a Newsroom Data Analyst and investigative reporter for Hearst Media here in Connecticut. Victoria, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
What does a Newsroom Data Analyst do?
That's a good question. I work a lot with metrics.
Okay.
So we have a lot of different programs like Google Analytics, and we have a program called Looker where we get reports on what people are reading, where people are coming from, how many people are on mobile devices or computers. And then I take some of that data and I analyze it, and analyzing it means to me looking at it and saying, did people like the story or not? And we have different standards depending on if it's an opinion piece or a news article. And it tells us how popular the content was and whether headlines should be improved. We can also look at what kind of topics people are reading about. So usually we see trends in like new businesses closing, any kind of development stories. And then I take that information, and we have regular meetings every morning with the editorial staff, and we talk to them about what's working, what's not working. So for example, on a morning call, I might present what did well in the newsletters yesterday, what did well on the home pages, what did well on social media. And then we talk about why, and then that can help shape the content for the next day. And then we do, weekly reports and monthly reports, and we look at, trends and things that people did in one newsroom that we might be able to replicate in another newsroom.
That's interesting to me that businesses opening and closing are very popular. I would have thought, just off the top of my head, it would have been crime.
We do see a lot of crime,
Okay.
yeah. And it's also interesting because that's what we usually get a lot of complaints from the readers. Why are you covering so much crime? Why are you writing bad news? Why aren't you writing anything happy? But that's what people are reading,
Yeah.
right? But we do see differences in the markets. So we have 8 different daily newspapers in Connecticut and a bunch of weekly newspapers. So we can break it down by what people are reading in the Danbury area, what people are reading in the Torrington area, what people are reading in New Haven. And in some areas the crime is very, very high,
Yeah.
and the interest in the crime, I should say.
Yeah.
And in other areas, it's a little less so. So you can then decide coverage based on what the reader interests us.
Gotcha. So is the businesses opening and closing, is that high just in New Haven, or is that high in other markets as well?
Businesses opening and closing is high statewide.
Interesting.
And in particular, people want to know about their local businesses.
Yeah.
New restaurants, very, very hot.
Yeah.
And we actually, since the past year, we have Leanne Griffin as our restaurant reporter, who's mainly focusing on those type of stories. And it's also part of every reporter's beat to look for that kind of stuff.
Okay.
But it goes deeper than that. Restaurant inspections, for example, if people are passing their health inspections, and then looking at the trends, right? Like, are there a certain type of businesses coming to the region? Real estate, also another hot topic. So are New Yorkers coming in to Connecticut and taking all the houses?
Gotcha.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And how long is that going to continue? And then,
Yeah.
we can sort of build off of that. And that also helps generate more story ideas, because you look at, this is what people are interested in. What more can we do in that area?
Yeah.
So it helps shape what we do every day.
Okay. Put on your investigative reporting hat for a minute. You worked on a project last year that gained some national attention. How did that come about? How did that story evolve or develop?
The Boys and Girls Club?
Yes.
It was a few years ago now.
Okay.
Pre-pandemic
Oh,
even.
wow. Time flies.
So there was actually a local reporter in our Greenwich newsroom who had covered a couple of cases with sexual abuse tied to people who worked at that Boys and Girls Club in Greenwich, and she said, I wonder if this is happening elsewhere. And she did like a quick Google search, just Boys and Girls Club sexual abuse, and she came up with like 60
Oh, wow.
60 hits, and she asked her editor, can I do something bigger on this? Can I write about this?
Yeah.
And the editor said, yes, but we need to be thorough about it, and we need to put a whole team on this.
Yeah.
So then I was one of the people who got pulled in to work as part of that team. And it wasn't, you can't just write about another newspaper's research, or most of these cases might have been just like a crime blotter item with very, very little detail.
Yeah.
It could have been a case from 10 years ago. So you need to kind of look at it and say, what happened after that? Was the person convicted? If it was a lawsuit, was it settled? How much did they settle for? So we had to track down every single case before we could write about it. But we took them and we built a national database, which is still up, and we are adding cases to it as we speak, because unfortunately some of these incidents are still happening. And some of them are just being discovered now because there are lawsuits being filed for something that may have happened 20 years ago.
Wow.
So, but Google,
Yeah.
Google's a big help.
Yeah.
We have Google alerts that tell us when new cases pop up, and then we can, ask to see those police reports or court documents, and then we try to track all the cases that are in the database, if they're pending, to make sure that we have the outcome as well, that we can update and say some of the charges could have been dismissed, some of the people could have been convicted, so that the families who might be sending their children to these clubs know how the club handled it, and also what happened to the person who was accused of doing this.
Yeah. Okay.
So.
Wow.
That was a big project.
It was a big project. You were also president of the Connecticut chapter of the Society of Professional Journalists.
That's correct.
What does SPJ do?
Well, we advocate for journalists, specifically here in Connecticut. The Connecticut chapter is just one part of the major organization. So while we have support from the national organization, we focus our efforts here in Connecticut. We do a lot of networking and events. We host the annual contest, which just ended, and we just shipped out about 800 entries to another state for them to judge it for us. And then we'll have a big awards ceremony sometime in the early summer for that. We're also going to have a student contest coming up. We do that every year, a little bit later than the professional one, so that's going to open in a few weeks. For student journalists, whether they're members or not, can enter that. And then they will also get awards. We usually judge that in state.
Okay.
We have professional journalists judge the student entries.
Okay.
And then we give out scholarships each year, about $6,000 to $7,000 worth of scholarships that college students can apply for.
Excellent.
So that's one of my favorite parts.
Yeah.
To give
Giving
out
the scholarship.
Right. We meet. We have a small group of the board that meets to review all the scholarship applications, make sure they meet the criteria, and then we parcel out, who the strongest candidates are for the scholarships.
Okay.
So.
All right, we're going to take a break on Connect with Chris with Viktoria Sundqvist, but we'll be right back.
Today we are doing the 25-hour film challenge. I am very excited, a little bit nervous, but other than that, I feel super confident in my team.
Last year we had one first place, so this year we're trying to run it back.
As seniors, we're all going to miss this.
Welcome back to Connect with Chris. I'm here with Viktoria Sundqvist. She is a 2003 and 2006 graduate from the School of Communications. Viktoria, you're originally from Sweden. How did you get to Quinnipiac University?
Well, I came to the United States as an au pair in 1998 through an exchange program. So I ended up in Westchester County, New York. I went to a community college there, and then I decided I wanted to try to stay a few more years. So I wanted to transfer to a four-year college. I applied to many colleges. Quinnipiac was one of them. I applied to Penn State and I think American University. And I went to visit most of the schools, and Quinnipiac offered me 2 scholarships to come here. So it was the top choice.
Yeah.
And after visiting the campus and seeing how beautiful it was, I decided this was the best place for me to be.
And did you know at that time that you wanted to be a journalist?
I've always known.
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
I ran my own newspaper when I was 13.
Excellent.
It
I
was
love that.
it had one subscriber.
Your mother?
No, a friend of my aunt's actually, and she really liked cats, and I really liked cats. So it was all about cats, and I would, cut out pictures of magazines of cats, and then I would write little stories by hand. So it was a hand printed issue.
And were the stories about the cats too?
Of course.
Okay.
Yeah, not written by the cats, but about,
Okay.
there were all sorts of cat facts and everything. And actually a few years ago, I went to visit that friend, and she brought out the entire box that she had. And apparently I kept it up for 2.5 years, and there was an issue every single week.
Wow.
So yeah,
That's
it was
impressive.
pretty interesting. so I moved on from there to a little more,
more serious topics.
journalism, and I worked at all my student newspapers, both in Sweden and at Westchester Community College, and here as well. I worked for the Quinnipiac Chronicle.
So what did you cover for the Chronicle?
I think I started out as lifestyles editor because that was the position that was open.
Okay.
And then I moved on to do news and then copy editing, and then I was the editor my senior year here.
Okay.
So.
And then
was
when you
good.
graduated, you went and worked for some other papers here in Connecticut, correct?
I did. I worked for the Milford Weekly, which was my first sort of real job.
Yeah.
And then I left for a little while because my visa expired, and then I got that renewed, and I started working for the Registered Citizen in Torrington.
Okay.
And that's now owned by Hearst.
Yeah.
So I've sort of worked for the same company, even though it wasn't the same company. So
Yeah.
it's a little confusing because with the newspaper consolidation, I worked for the Registered Citizen, the Middletown Press, the New Haven Register. They're all owned by the same company now, and they're all owned by Hearst.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but it wasn't Hearst then.
Yeah.
So.
And what do you like about journalism? What gets you excited in the morning to open up that computer and start working?
Well, I don't get to do as much writing now because I do the data analyst stuff, but I like good stories. I like interesting stories. I like when we find the people and we can tell their stories, especially like things that are unusual, that isn't stuff that you would find out somewhere else, that you have to come to us to read. I like those kind of things. I like it obviously when we can hold officials accountable, when you can dig into records and do FY requests and find something that people didn't already know.
Yeah.
And especially if you find some kind of wrongdoing or
Yeah.
something that's not quite right, and you can then go to people and say, why are you doing this?
Yeah.
That I like that part.
Okay. Okay. All right. This is the segment of Connect with Chris where we get up close and personal with our guests. So I'm going to ask Victoria a series of questions, and I may follow up with a why. So Victoria, the first question is hamburgers or hot dogs?
Hot dogs.
And what do you take on your hot dog?
Ketchup and relish.
Okay. And is there a special place in the area that you go to, or is it just home cooked?
Home cooked, but I like Hummel
Okay.
hot dogs, which I believe are made in New Haven.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Winter or summer,
Winter.
and why?
Well, I'm from Sweden. I can't stand when it's too hot.
Okay.
I cannot stand it. My skin crawls. The humidity is really bad.
Okay.
I would like for it to be 60 degrees all year round or cold enough to ski.
Okay.
So those are the options.
Okay.
You could always put more clothes on if you're cold. You can't take anything more off when you're hot.
Fair
So,
enough. Fair enough. And I probably know the answer to this question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Mountains or beach?
Mountains.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For skiing.
Skiing and hiking. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
And the views.
And the views. Coffee or tea?
Both.
Okay.
Coffee in the morning, tea later in the day.
Okay. What do you take in your coffee?
Cream, heavy cream preferably, and a
Okay.
little bit of Splenda.
Okay. And in the afternoon, what type of tea are we talking about?
Earl Grey or something fruity
Okay.
with honey.
With honey.
Yeah.
Interesting. All right. Chocolate or vanilla?
Chocolate.
And what kind of chocolate are we talking about?
Dove chocolate or Lindt chocolate.
Okay. Ice cream?
Not Hershey's.
Not Hershey's. So we're talking European chocolate.
Yes. Milky chocolate,
Okay.
creamy chocolate.
Okay. Mornings or nights?
Nights.
And what do you like about the nights?
That it's quiet and I'm finally awake.
Okay. Because you've had all that coffee
I've
and
had
tea.
all that coffee and tea, exactly.
Drama or comedy?
It depends on the day,
Okay.
what mood I'm in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite comedy TV show?
I watch a lot of, older sitcoms from the 90s.
Okay.
Friends, Seinfeld, Frasier.
Okay.
Rewatch them. It's like hanging out with my friends,
Yeah.
So when I've had a really long, stressful day, I'll just, go to a streaming service and put on my favorite episode of an old show.
Okay. Good. Steak or seafood?
I'm going to say both.
Okay.
Surf and turf all the way.
Surf and turf. How do you like your steak? And is there a cut?
I'm not too picky about the cut, but
Okay.
medium well. I like
Okay.
it on the little more well done side.
Okay. And is there a particular seafood?
Lobster.
Lobster. Yeah. Lobster roll, a good lobster
Lobster roll, lobster tail, lobster salad.
Okay. All right, this one is the one that's probably going to get you in trouble. Pepe's or Sally's?
I prefer bar pizza
All right.
with the mashed
The
potatoes.
mashed potato and bacon pizza
Yes.
at bar?
Yes.
All right. I've had that.
Yeah.
Is there a second?
Second
Does it have to be Pepe's or Sally's?
I mean, I live in the valley, so Roseland or Zupardi's
Zupardi's.
are high up there for
Okay.
me.
Okay.
Pepe's to me is a little burnt often.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I am not.
I think it's overrated, and
I'm-
I also don't eat clams.
I'm
so
not a Pepe's fan, but I am a big fan of the white clam at Sally's. So,
I'm sure it's okay.
but I like Zupardi's.
Yeah.
I like Zupardi's a lot.
And they just opened one near my house,
Oh, okay.
so we're lucky.
Okay. I think I know the answer to this question. Dogs or cats?
I mean, I like all animals. I'm
Okay.
a big animal person,
Okay.
but cats are like up here.
Okay. And I know this just because I follow you on Facebook and Instagram. I see a lot of cat pictures.
Yeah.
How many cats are we talking about?
Well, unfortunately, we lost 2 of our cats in the
Oh,
past year
sorry to hear
to
that.
illnesses. So we're down to 1.
Okay.
We're thinking about, whether it's time to get another, but we want to give her a little time
She
to
needs-
adjust
well,
to
she
being
needs
the
a
princess of the
playmate.
house.
She needs a playmate.
Well, we're talking about it.
All right.
She hasn't been convinced yet, but
Okay.
we're working on it.
All right, last question, most important question to me. Red Sox or Yankees?
I started out in New York, so the family I worked for told me that I needed to be a Yankees fan. However, my husband is a Mets fan, so
Oh.
we're now a Mets family.
Okay.
So it's, New York teams though,
Okay.
not Boston.
All right. As long I can handle the Mets. I just can't handle the Yankees.
They are a little obnoxious.
They are a little
And
bit.
you know what? I'll try to keep this quick, but the kid that I was babysitting when I came here as an au pair, very eager to get people's autographs. So after one of the Yankee games, we were hanging out in the back of the building where they come out to
Yeah.
go on the bus. All these kids were there screaming. The Yankees didn't look at a single one of them, just walked straight to the bus, didn't wave, didn't say hello, didn't sign a single card for anyone. And that's when I decided that they're probably not very nice people.
Excellent.
So, that's kind of,
I love-
Mets are okay.
All right.
Does that make you feel better?
It does make me feel better. All right. I want to thank Viktoria Sundqvist for being our guest on this episode of Connect with Chris. And if you're not aware, we have a podcast called Uncommon Grounds where I interview School of Comm students. Check that out on Spotify or your streaming service of preference. Thanks for joining us.